Jaya Gopi Jana Balabhag Yashodanandana Braj Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braj Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tirtha Vanachari Jamuna Tirtha Vanachari Hey Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hey Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Hari Hey Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Hello Yashodanandana Braj Jana Yashodanandana Braj Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tirtha Vanachari Jamuna Tirtha Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bhagavad Ashtatala Santa Shishimad, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Go Premanande Oh glorious the assembled devotees Oh glorious the assembled devotees Oh glorious the assembled devotees Oh glorious Sri Guru Sri Gauranga Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, canto 3, chapter 32, chapter entitled Entanglement in Fruitive Activities, text number 16. Param Brahma. Padam Brahma. Maybe just turn that up just a touch. Just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. Ye tviha sakta manasa kamasu shraddhayanvita Kovanchya pratisiddhani Nityanyapi chakritsnasha Ye tviha sakta manasa Kamasu Shraddhayanvita Kovanchya Siddhani Nityanyapi Chakritsnasha Ye tviha sakta manasa Kamasu Shraddhayanvita Kovanchya pratisiddhani Nityanyapi chakritsnasha Just put cold in, and then it'll be the right The tune should stay the same. Whatever the speaker speaks, it's the same tune. Don't change the tune. Kali Yuga, everyone wants to change everything. This is Satya Yuga. Mataji's. Yea, those who, true, but, iha, in this world, asakta, addicted, manasa, whose minds, kamasu, to fruitive activities, shraddhaya, with faith, anvita, endowed, kurvanti, perform, aprati siddhani, with attachment to the result, nityani, prescribed duties, api, certainly, cha, and, kritsnasha, repeatedly, Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Persons who are too addicted in this material world persons who are too addicted to this material world execute their prescribed duties very nicely and with great faith. They daily perform all such prescribed duties with attachment to the fruitive result. Translation responsibly. Persons who are too addicted to this material world execute their prescribed duties very nicely and with great faith. They daily perform all such prescribed duties with attachment to the fruitive result. Purport. In this and the following 6 verses, the Srimad Bhagavatam criticizes persons who are too materially attached. It is enjoined in the Vedic scriptures that those who are attached to the enjoyment of material facilities have to sacrifice and undergo certain ritualistic performances. They have to observe certain rules and regulations in their daily lives to be elevated to the heavenly planets. It is stated in this verse that such persons cannot be liberated at any time. Those who worship demigods with the consciousness that each and every demigod is a separate god cannot be elevated to the spiritual world. What to speak of persons who are simply attached to duties for the upliftment of their material condition. Omagyan Tivedandasya Ginanjana Shelakaya Chakshuranmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpa Turupyascha Kripa Sindhubi Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the very beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the opening 3 verses, the first canto, first chapter, first 3 verses, this is a Mangalachana. Mangalachana means like auspicious invocation verses. So it states in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam, the purpose of the Bhagavatam is to help us distinguish between reality and illusion, or matter and spirit. That is the purpose of the study, one of the principal purposes of the study. If you study Bhagavatam regularly, which we all should. So, hands up if you like to study Srimad Bhagavatam. Wow, nice group of devotees. Okay, so if you like to study Bhagavatam, this is the result. The result is that you should understand the difference between matter and spirit. If you do not understand the difference between matter and spirit, then it is simply theoretical knowledge. Realized knowledge means we understand, we act upon it. I know what is matter, I know what is spirit. That's why Srila Prabhupada, you see when he lectures, he came to the West in 1965, you see all the lectures that Prabhupada gave. Hundreds of lectures. I think it's like 1,100 lectures that Prabhupada is giving. So then, you see, the main theme, one of the principal themes, is you're not the body, you are the soul. And where does Krishna begin the Bhagavad Gita? Asocham, Anvasocha. A. He starts with the first letter of the alphabet, the beginning, the fundamentals. What is the beginning of spiritual life? You have to understand the difference between matter and spirit. You don't understand that you're not the body, you are the soul, you cannot progress in spiritual life. How do you progress? So that's the fundamentals. So at least we have to theoretically understand it until we realize it. Realizing it, that's another level of consciousness that we have to develop. But we have to understand, you're not the body, you are the soul. That is the point of spiritual life. So the whole Bhagavatam is to elaborate upon this point. So now this is interesting. This is deep within the third canto. It's in the teachings of Kapila. And the 32nd chapter is called Entanglement in Fruitive Activities. So this is nearly the end of this third canto. So when the living entity comes to the material world, he falls into Maya. What is the definition of Maya? That which is not. You think it is, but it is not. You can't put your fingers in your mouth, in the temple. Okay. So you think it is something, but it is actually the opposite thing. So that's how we are in this material world. We think something is like one thing, but it's actually the opposite. What are some examples? Happiness in the material world. You think something in this material world will give you happiness, but actually it gives you distress. But you think. And what's the principle? What's the foundational principle of this material world? Sex life. Attraction between male and female. Maituni bhav, it says within the Bhagavatam. This is the attraction between the opposite sexes. That's what keeps everyone bound in the material world, primarily. So this attraction, we think that is the pinnacle of happiness. That will give us happiness. Right? But actually it gives you distress. That is called Maya, that which is not. So everyone is investing all their time and energy into this material pleasure, and they end up being distressed. And then everyone's confused in modern society. Everyone thinks, why am I suffering? Why am I unhappy? No? I've got everything I want materially and still I feel dissatisfied. No? So that is Maya, that is illusion. So when you get into this material world, we fall into Maya. Now, because we are the soul, we left Krishna. We fell into this material world. We're now Nityabhada. But because we are spiritual and we are Krishna's eternal servant, Jivera Swarup Hoy, Krishnera Nitya Das, you are Krishna's eternal servant. But now we're covered by the material energy. So then, this verse shows how we put our energy, invest our energy into the material world. Right? If you look at the Sanskrit, it's very interesting. Because it says, Iha Sakta, Asakta, or Asakti. Now, if you look at the Bhagavad Gita, right, 7th chapter, first verse, Krishna uses this word, Asakti. Right? And it's interesting because what is the principal subject matter of the first 6 chapters of the Gita? Right? It's karma yoga. Right? The last 6 chapters are Jnana yoga. Right? So the middle 6 chapters are Bhakti Yoga. Okay, so the first verse of the Bhakti Yoga section, right, is the first verse of the 7th chapter. Interesting, when Prabhupada lectured on Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada spoke on Bhagavad Gita hundreds of times. Which verse did he speak on the most? Chapter 7, verse 1. Right? Prabhupada spoke on that verse. Because Prabhupada would sit down, he would say, which verse? Right? Devotees say, Prabhupada, any verse? So Prabhupada, chapter 7, verse 1. What was the second verse? The verse he spoke on the second most? No, it was chapter 9, verse 1. It was his second most popular verse. He would speak on that verse. So within the Bhakti Yoga section, Prabhupada would speak the most. So the first verse of the 7th chapter, then Srila Prabhupada says, Asakti. Oh, sorry, Krishna says, Asakti. Right? The nature of bhakti or devotion is that you must develop attachment to your lovable object. That is bhakti. You cannot be devoted to something if you're not attached to it. Isn't that true? Right? If you're not attached to something, you can't be devoted to it, whatever it is. Right? You have to develop asakti, attachment. Asakti is the nature of the soul. Right? But we come into the material world, we become attached to the most stupid things. Right? We become attached to everything but Krishna. But that is the nature of the soul, to be attached. We develop asakti. So when you come into this material world, that original asakti, that original attachment which the soul has for Krishna, it becomes divided and it becomes focused on material objects, vishai. Vishai means material sense objects. So then we fall in the material and suddenly we become attached to so many things. And they absorb our consciousness. We become devoted to those things because of our sakti or our attachment to those particular things. So that is the nature of being in the material world. We become attached. So we need to develop devotion to Krishna. But you don't get devotion until you become attached to Krishna. That is the nature. You must become attached. So in this material world, asakti goes to so many things. So then now we're attached to everything else except Krishna. So that is the basis of spiritual life. Because Krishna says in the very first verse, he speaks the 6 verses, Arjuna says, who is the topmost yogi? Krishna answers the topmost yogi is the bhakta in the very final verse, 647 of the 6th chapter. And then that awakens Krishna's enthusiasm to speak about the bhakta, to speak about devotion. And then he begins. So this is asakti. So you'll see in the material world, just like you go to university, for example, right? You have to become devoted to your practice. If you want to get good at anything in this material world, you have to become devoted, right? And you only become devoted when there is like an attachment which is formed for that thing. So in the material world, we develop like a sakti or attachment. I must become a doctor. So because I must become a doctor, then you become devoted to the path. Otherwise, where is the impetus? Where is the drive to go through? If there's no attachment to something, right? You don't have any drive or impetus. So originally that attachment was for Krishna. And because we're attached to Krishna, then we were devoted. Then we could commit ourselves. Right? Now, if you look within the Sanskrit, Krishna also uses the word shraddha. Right? That is also within the Bhagavatam, in the Sanskrit. What does shraddha mean? Faith. Yeah, shraddha. So what is the first, where does spiritual life begin? Shraddha. Ado. Ado means in the beginning. Adi. Like the Adi Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita. It means in the beginning. Ado shraddha. In the beginning, spiritual life is faith. And if you look at the process, Rupa Goswami gives 9 levels of bhakti. Shraddha, sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, anata nivritti, nishta, ruchiya sakti, bhava, prema. There are 9 levels of bhakti which we're meant to pass through. Which level are we on? A little bit high. Yeah, a little bit high. Anata nivritti. You can't put your feet, you're putting your feet to the deities, Dhruv. Look at your feet, it's point, you can't do that. It's in front of Krishna. So, anata nivritti. What is anata nivritti? Anartha. Analyze the word. Artha means dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Artha means something valuable, right? It's valuable. You have this thing. It's valuable. What does arnartha mean? It's not valuable, right? So if you analyze right now all the things you're attached to, right? Are they valuable? You can. Okay, good. Can you live without your saris? Can you live without your, not you, but can you live without your dhotis? Can you live without your Rolex watch? Can you live without your Mercedes Benz? Can you live without your helicopter? We're attached to all these different things. Anartha, but they're not valuable. They don't have value. Actually, interesting. Get you. One of the wealthiest men in the world, he owned Apple Corporation, right? Just like this foreign here. Hello. This is Apple, right? So what was his name, that man? Steve Jobs. Yeah, Bill Gates is the other one. So Steve Jobs, right? So Steve Jobs, interesting, because he passed away not long ago. Did you read what he said, right, on the deathbed when he was passing away? Basically what he said, I've accumulated everything in this world, everything that everyone wants, wealth. He said, I became intoxicated by wealth. We studied that in the 10th canto recently, in the pastime of Manigriva and Nalakovara. So, two boys, and the acharyas point out, Jamma Aishwarya, Shuta Shribya. Right? 4 things basically in this world we get intoxicated by. Your birth, Jamma Aishwarya, your wealth, your beauty, and your learning. Basically, that's what we get intoxicated by. But of the 4, the acharyas point out, the most dangerous is wealth. That's more intoxicating than anything. Right? When you get wealth, you really become infatuated or intoxicated in this material world. Very dangerous. Like that. That's why if you give wealth, as a devotee, if you have wealth, you have to give to Krishna. Right? Keep yourself medium. Right? If you get rich, it's intoxicating. So, if you get the wealth, use it for Krishna's service, and then you don't become intoxicated. That's how you protect yourself. So it is very intoxicating. So Steve Jobs said, I became intoxicated by my wealth, but at the end, it could do nothing for me. And he said, I was just laying there, or I'm just laying there in the dark in some hospital with little lights flashing like that. And all the wealth cannot do anything for me. So it's the nature of the material world. We become attached and become... So anartha means something which it's not valuable, but we're attached to it. Right? That's the nature of the material world. We're attached to our iPhone. Can't live without my iPhone. Last year, Apple sold 52 million iPhones. Last year, 52 million. So these are anarthas, unnecessary things. We become attached to them. So we're on this level of bhakti. It's called anartha nivritti. Nivritti means getting rid of the things. First, to get rid of, if you look at the pastime of Gundicha Marjana, Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Lord Chaitanya goes into the Gundicha temple and he cleans the temple with all the devotees, right? And first they clean all the gross things. First you have to get rid of the gross things. So first of all, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating. That's the gross thing, okay, we clean that. Then you have to go into the heart, right? And then you have to get rid of the subtle things. Attachment to profit, distinction, adoration. Of all of the anarthas in the heart, which is the most difficult to get rid of? No, that's outside. But the subtle things in the heart, what is the most difficult? Very good. Pratishta. Pratishta means? Yeah, fame means distinction. Yeah, you want adoration, yeah. It means you want to be distinct. And it happens in devotional service also. We want to be distinct amongst the devotees. Okay, so many nice devotees are there, but I want to be distinct. Right? So it's an anartha. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that is the most difficult to give up. And actually amongst all of us, we all have that to some degree. Maybe a little bit or maybe a lot. But it is there. And it chokes the creeper of devotion. So that is the nature. So spiritual life, in this verse, the Bhagavatam is using this word Shraddha. Shraddha means? Faith. Spiritual life begins with faith. And you can say, okay, I'm on the level of anartha nivritti or nishta or ruchi or asakti or bhava or prema according to how much faith you have. It's just your faith developing. When you have complete faith, that is called prema. When you have medium faith, that is called anartha nivritti. When you have not much faith, we say, okay, that's shraddha. So according to the level that you develop, then that's what we call faith. So all of us are developing our faith to different levels. Now if you look at Prabhupada, right, which level was he on? Prema. Why? Very good. Complete faith. Purna. Ishopanishad says, Om Purnam. Purna means complete. Just like on Sunday. Sunday the moon will be complete. We call it Purnima. Guru Purnima this Sunday. This Sunday is the first day of Chaturmasya. Now we have to get austere. We have to grow beards. And not brush your hair. Sleep on the ground and only eat khichdi for 4 months. Can you do it? Yes. Yes. Once a day. Like that. Very austere. But Chaturmasya we have to do some austerity. We have to give up certain foods for 4 months. What are those foods? First one is sak. Next one? Dahi. Next one? Doodh. Next one? Urd dal. Yeah. 4 months. Prabhupada made it so easy in Kali Yuga for all the devotees. You only have to do these simple things, and devotees even struggle with that. Right? First month is green leafy vegetables, and devotees have all these debates. Well, it's kale. It's not spinach. Or it's silver beet. It's not spinach. No, it means green leafy vegetables. Anything which is green, which is leafy, and it's a vegetable, you don't eat it. Right? First month. Second month, this is the really silly one. Right? Dahi. So then devotees, they drink lassi, right? And they say, it's not dahi, it's lassi. Hare Baba. Right? No sense control. No sense control. Prabhupada already made it so easy. Right? If you look at the actual Chaturmasya standard, it's big austerity. Prabhupada said and devotees can't even do that. They get one devotee actually said this to me, right? They made lassi for the deity, 4 o'clock, fruit offering they made for the deity. So they made lassi, water, yogurt, so you can't have it, it's already got yogurt in it, right? So it's not, they say, oh no. And then they put mango in it. So they said, okay, it's not lassi, it's mango lassi. He said, so can we drink it? I said, no, you can't drink it, it has yogurt in it. Just 1 month. And devotees find that even difficult, right? Third month is austere. The other ones I don't find difficult. No dahi, no problem. No milk for 1 month, that's austere. Yeah, that's austere. If you're accustomed to drinking milk. But Prabhupada said, so it's only 1 month. What is your problem? Right? Do some austerity. The Vedas say. 4th month, right? Urd dal, right? That's a little austere. If you're South Indian, that's austere. It is. It's an austerity. I didn't know what constituted Urd dal. I remember I was sitting with my Guru Maharaj, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, many years ago, 2001, long time. And I said, I'm going to India. I was going to India in a couple of days. And we were talking, and he said, Chaturmasya and, following. And then Kartik is about to start. Kartik means no Urd dal. So I said to him, I'm looking forward to going to Jagannath Puri because I have very nice uttapan. And he looked at me and he said, you can't have uttapan, that's Urd dal. And I said, oh my Krishna. And in my mind, it was like I was having a psychological breakdown. I thought, no uttapans. And he was looking at me, right? And he said, I follow these things, so you should also follow. So that is the austerity that we have to perform. So what means 1 month can't have uttapan, right? And then the day after Kartik finishes, I have uttapan. Because it's austerity. I have parata, they're leading into it, but then that day, you can break. Right? So we have to do some austerity. for Krishna. So Shraddha means faith, right? It means you have to follow according to different levels. And the more faith you have, like Prabhupada, complete faith, that is prema in Krishna. Our faith is not complete. No? That's why we have anatta nivritti. That's why we're on that platform at the moment. Why are we on the platform of anatta nivritti? Because we still have faith that those anattas or those material objects or material desires can satisfy us. We don't have faith yet that we should completely give them up. That's why we struggle with anattas. That's why we have difficulty with sex desire. That's why we have difficulty with material desires. That's why we struggle with these things, because we still have faith in them. Oh, it will satisfy me. I can have Krishna and I can have these things as well. What does it mean when you have sense gratification and Krishna? What is that called? Kama Mishra, very good. Or it could be called something else as well. What is it called? Sense gratification and Krishna? It is called Grihasta Ashram. Don't laugh. Just because you're Brahmacharya, don't laugh. Do not pick on us. Just because we have fallen into the dark well of material existence. You cannot laugh at us. You have to throw a rope and pull us out of this dark well. No, but this is Grihasta Ashram. Krishna, Chatur, Vanyam, Maya, Shrishtam. So Krishna says, I give 4 divisions. So you're in the Grihasta Ashram. Okay, you're attached to sense gratification. We know this, right? But you're also attached to Krishna. So Krishna said, okay, have both, right? And gradually give up that. Then how do you give up your attachment to Grihasta Ashram? No, you have lots of kids. Right? Have as many kids as you can, and then you'll become completely detached. Because of the nature of the material energy. Nature of the material energy is the more you're involved in the material energy, the more you become detached from it. And as you said, actually the way you become attached or detached is param drishtva nivartate. Krishna said, you have to get the superior taste of Krishna consciousness. Then we can give up our material attachments in this world. So it says here, Shraddha. All right? We're in this material world because we have asakti for the material world. Means we're attached to the objects in this material world. And we have Shraddha. We have faith. People have faith. This material world will satisfy me. And when the material world cannot satisfy you, everyone becomes confused. Why am I not happy here? And then if you look at modern society at this point in time, what's taking place? Right? Mass confusion. Everyone is thinking, why am I not happy? Everyone in this material world is thinking, why am I not happy? Society cannot work it out. Just like last month, 2 months ago, they went to one Ariana Grande. I don't know, maybe you don't know. Do you know who she is? Pop star in the West. Maybe you know, I don't know. So everyone, it was mainly for the kids. Everyone went to the rock concert in Manchester in England, and they're walking out, and then someone let off a bomb and killed 27 of the kids and like that. And then everyone says, why is this happening? Why is it? Everyone is confused. Why is our sense gratification not working? Because you're trying to enjoy separately from Krishna. And when you enjoy separately from Krishna in the material world, it will restrict you. And that's the nature of the material energy. Dukkhalayam, ashashvatam. It will happen. Actually, the material world can be very peaceful. Prabhupada's guru, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, says, nothing is lacking in the material world except Krishna consciousness. If you're Krishna conscious, the material world is practically the same as the spiritual world. What do they do in the spiritual world? They take prasad. What do we do down here? We take prasad, same. Of course, it's better there. We all know that. But still, it's nice here. Since I came to ISKCON, right, I feel like I'm in the spiritual world. Look where I live. Look at my house. This is my master. I am the servant. And look at the house. Who has a more beautiful house than this in Albert Park? We live in the house with the master. We get to eat what the master eats. Does anyone in Albert Park eat like we eat? No, no one eats like it. They come in, they can't believe it. Oh, really? This is what you guys eat? We just have sandwiches. You guys have Rajbhog thali. So nice. Because we're serving the Master, you get all the facility of the Master. Right? So practically we're in the spiritual world. Our lives are blissful. They are ecstatic. You ask the devotees. Devotees always say, how are you? How are you? What is your answer? I am ecstatic. Because if you're in Krishna's service, if you're serving Krishna, right, then you will be ecstatic. If you're serving Krishna and you're not ecstatic, what does that mean? Anarthas, yeah. It means, I don't know what it means. How can you be serving Krishna and you're not ecstatic? But it happens. Prabhupada says, face is the index of the mind. You just look at one devotee's face, right? You see what's going on in their mind. As soon as you see the devotee. Some days you see the devotee, Hare Krishna. Something is going on in there. But normally devotees should be blissful, they should be ecstatic. So if you're serving Krishna, you should be blissful. If you're not, something is wrong in the application of the process. The process is perfect. Krishna consciousness is perfect. Bhakti yoga is perfect. It is the constitutional position of the soul to serve Krishna. If you're not feeling blissful, there is something wrong. That means like Mahatma Prabhu says, it means you're anarthas, you're attached to something. In the mind, you're dwelling on something other than Krishna. Krishna calls that in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Michacha. Michacha means pretender. Means in the mind, doing devotional service, but in the mind, thinking of girls. Or girls thinking of boys. Or whatever you think of. So this is pretending. But the nature of Krishna consciousness, if you practice Krishna consciousness, you will be blissful, you will be ecstatic. You cannot be otherwise. What was Prabhupada like all the time? Blissful. Sometimes they took photos of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada looking very grave. They said, Prabhupada, you look very grave, very serious. Prabhupada said, that is a moment of great ecstasy. Doesn't mean, just because you're a devotee, always like that. No, not like that. But inside, always feeling very blissful, because you're serving Krishna. What else is there? Everything is blissful about what we do. Who else goes up and down Burke Street Mall dancing and chanting? Seriously, who else does that? What human beings do you see walking along Burke Street Mall? Like that. Only Hare Krishna, only. Because we are blissful. Sometimes I see Harinam. I hear Harinam. I'm in the city for some reason, and then I hear Harinam is coming around the corner. So the noise sounds very blissful. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But when it comes around the corner, devotees look like they're in a funeral march. Just like dragging. It doesn't work. That means the minds are not in the kirtan. If you're in the kirtan, you should feel very blissful. That is the nature. That's why it says in the spiritual world, every step is a dance. It is like when devotees on Harinam. That's what it is like. Every song is every word is a song. Just like on Harinam, everyone is like that. That is the nature of the spiritual world. So here, very nice description. This verse is saying, if you're attached to this material world, right, you will suffer. Right? If you have faith in this material world, you will suffer. What does it mean we're becoming more advanced in Krishna consciousness? It means we don't have faith in the material world anymore. We don't think the material world will make us happy. Right? Even as grihastas, right? That means we've compromised. Grihastha ashram means you compromised. You understood, I need sense gratification and Krishna. Krishna says, no problem. Krishna says, okay, you can do it, no problem. But the nature is of a grihastha, even though he has material attachments, material desires, material assets, right? Material objects of sense gratification, wife, husband, children, home, all these things. But he knows deep within his heart, this cannot give me eternal satisfaction. But I need it there just to gradually make myself detached. Right? Gradually give it up. But you have to see, as a devotee, you have to see year after year, am I becoming less attached to the material world, more attached to Krishna? Prabhupada says in Krishna book, in the, I think, chapter 30, around about that section of the Krishna book, Prabhupada says, how do you understand how advanced you're becoming in Krishna consciousness? He says, when your material desires are becoming less, and your attachment to Krishna is becoming more. So it's like a tula. That means scale, right? That's why we call Krishna Atul Krishna. You can't measure Krishna. He's Atul. You put him on the scale. Right? How do you measure him? You put everything on the other side, and how can you measure how valuable Krishna is? Put everything, but you'll never get as much as Krishna, right? So Tula means the scale. So you know when you're advancing in Krishna consciousness because your material desires are becoming less and your spiritual desires are becoming more. But sometimes, as devotees, it's the other way. It feels like the scales are going like this. You ever have those days? But it says that in Kali Yuga, the devotee and the demon are in the same body. What's the date today? 4th of July. Very auspicious day in America. Independence Day, 4th of July. Independence Day ki? Actually, Prabhupada was there one time, 4th of July, in America. And he said, Prabhupada giving spiritual vision to the situation. Prabhupada, this is not independence. What independence have you attained? You are still bound to this material world. I am American. I am Indian. I am Australian. That is bondage. That's not liberation. Independent Day, firecrackers going off. Prabhupada actually was sitting there and they're watching all the firecrackers going off. It was nice. Prabhupada was watching. He said, this is not independence. All of you are still attached and trapped in this material world. That's not independence. So, we think we're becoming released from the material world, but actually there is no release. What was the point I was making just before that? Before I started talking about Independence Day and fireworks and Atula, yeah. Measure, very good. But I can't remember the point I was making. So today is July the 4th, right? So, that's right, about the face being the happiness. So today, you'll see a devotee, right? And the devotee will be very happy, right? But then tomorrow you'll see the devotee and they're very unhappy. Right? Because sometimes very satisfied, and then next day not. So sometimes we are struggling like that. Anartha means, one day very attached to Krishna, but because divine and divinic nature are within both of us. They're both within us. So therefore, sometimes we are feeling like that. You wake up in the morning, you feel like I'm a devotee of Krishna. Other times you wake up, you feel like I'm a demon. Just depends on which side of bed you get up. So there's the nature. When you become more advanced in Krishna consciousness, you only know Krishna. You only know Guru. You wake up in the morning and I will simply serve Guru, Krishna, Vaishnavas. Guru, what is that song Narottama Das Thakur says? Hari, Guru, Vaishnava, Bhagavata, Gita. Right? Basically that's the devotee's life. Hari, Guru, Vaishnava, Bhagavata, Gita. That's it. That's everything. That's why we wake up happy every morning. Wake up in the morning. I've got 4 people to serve. I've got Hari, I've got Guru, I've got Vaishnav, and I've got Bhagavad Gita. And if you do that, how can you be unhappy? Hare Krishna. So we'll stop there. We'll see if there are any questions or comments, what we've discussed. Any other questions?
Thank you for the wonderful class. My question is that how do we balance while doing the responsibilities, we are getting more advanced in sadhana rather than pushing too much towards the material.
So your question is, how do we balance our responsibilities? Like in Grihastha ashram, you got both, you got one and you got the other. How do you balance it? You take sannyas. Any other questions or comments? No, I mean, how do you balance it? So it means you have to be balanced, that's the point. So, if you don't know how to be balanced yourself, then you approach your authority. So you have Diksha Guru, you have Shiksha Guru. So you have to approach your Shiksha Guru, your Diksha Guru, and you have to take guidance. And then they will say how to do like that, how to do like that. The last time I saw my spiritual master, my Diksha Guru, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, so I saw him in Oxford, in England. So I was sitting there with him. And I said, do you want me to do more service or do you want me to do different service? I asked him this question. Like that. And then he said, what are you doing? So I told him, I said, no. And he looked at me, he said, that sounds like enough. Because I was wanting him to say, do this or do that or change this or do more or like that. He said, that sounds like enough. And he said, that sounds balanced. And that's all. So you go to your authority, Diksha or your Shiksha Guru, whoever you gives you advice. But Prabhupada said, everyone's servant is no one's servant. So you can't ask everyone. Sometimes devotees ask everyone. They ask 20 people, and then how can you make up your mind? Because everyone's going to say something different. So Diksha Guru is one, Shiksha Guru means a few. And then that will be enough to give you. Is that okay?
So, you are mentioning about desire for profit, adoration, and distinction especially. Now, within projects that we work, we try to bring up with innovative ideas to push the project forward. Now, how do we balance that? Like, am I doing it for my own distinction or for the project? Like that initiative to create new ideas and balancing that with my desire to be distinct.
So how do you know if your motivation in your service is for pratishtha or your own like that, or whether it's for pushing on the service or the movement like that? It means that when we're on the platform that we are on, all of us, there is always some mixture. There's always something there. At this point in time, we're not doing things purely for Krishna or purely for Guru. There's something there. And to different degrees, some devotees more, some devotees less, pratishtha is mixed in. We want some recognition for what we did. So it's different for different devotees. So you have to analyze your own heart, your own consciousness, see how much is there. And if you are sincere in wanting, then gradually give it up and gradually do. But the point is you're doing it for Krishna. So Prabhupada knew. Prabhupada, he understood that devotees were materially motivated and attached and had material desires, but he pushed them. And he would say to them, they would distribute so many books. Like in Australia, I think in 1976 maybe, the Australian BBT party was #1 in the world. Distributed the most books out of any party in the world. Even defeated Radha Damodar party in America, which is like big power. But they were #1 one time. I think 75 or 76. So Prabhupada got the report. They distributed this many books in the world. So Prabhupada said, next year, double it. And so devotees are like, oh my God, how is that physically, mentally possible? Like that. So Prabhupada knew, because they had this desire to be #1 and everyone was competitive. That's why Prabhupada fueled the competition. Even one time he wrote a letter and he said, because Tamal Krishna Maharaj was organising the Radha Damodar party, and they were number one. But then Jaitirtha Prabhu in England, their party was also sometimes defeating like that. And then Prabhupada said, it is good that you are defeating them and good that you are defeating them. He said, and if you defeat them again, I think tomorrow we'll have a heart attack. So Prabhupada was like fueling everyone, do more. But he knew it wasn't all based on pure devotional service. It wasn't on pure devotional service. But definitely it was mixed with love for Prabhupada. Love for Prabhupada. Because at the end, when Prabhupada was leaving this world, then the devotees said to Prabhupada, can we pray to Krishna that you will stay? And then Prabhupada said, you can pray Krishna if you desire, then let Prabhupada stay. And then devotees said to Prabhupada, so Prabhupada, we're not pure enough, we don't have prema, so therefore Krishna is not listening to our prayers, or maybe is not accepting them fully. And then Prabhupada said no. He said, your love is genuine, so Krishna is hearing. Because they love Prabhupada, we all love Prabhupada. But we love Prabhupada, we would do anything for ISKCON, but on another level, we still, if we look at ourselves honestly, we also desire recognition. So both things are there. So as time goes by, then just work, on releasing that motivation. And if you are sincerely trying, when you get to the point where you're sincerely trying to get rid of it, Krishna will step in and help you. We can't do it, actually. We say we want to, but, we're still very attached. But then Krishna will do things in your life to remove these obstacles and anarthas. It's okay. Any other question? Comments?
You mentioned how some days with the devotees and the other days we might feel like demons. So there's obviously like an interference between your mind and the self, I believe. So what's the role of psychology, I would say, in Krishna consciousness with your mind? It's just simply contaminated with the
So what's the role of psychology in Krishna consciousness? Modern psychology or Vedic psychology or?
I would say
Modern psychology. Modern psychology can assist if the modern psychology is helping you to detach yourself from your mind. That's the purpose. Right? So the whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is speaking on the psychological level in a lot of Bhagavad Gita. He's saying you're not the mind, you're not the intelligence, these things. Krishna speaks all about these things. You have to become detached from these things so then you can fully attach yourself to me. So, sometimes devotees need counseling, because we have trauma in this world. Before we came to Krishna, so many things happened to us, right? And they traumatize us and they stay within our subtle body. So sometimes we get counseling, from devotees or from even non-devotees. And the whole purpose of that is to help us detach ourselves from those things or reconcile those things so that then we can give our hearts fully to Krishna. So that's all it's for. So if you feel that it's taking you to that end, that it's helping you, become more detached, then that's a good thing. But if you're not becoming detached, then if it's confusing you more, if you're going to a psychologist and it's giving you more confusion, then what's the point? Maybe in the beginning there's more confusion because when you open everything up and you stir everything up, right, then you may feel confusion, but that should begin to dissipate quickly. Like that. Is that okay? Any other question? So it means the question is, how do we balance our life? Because we're trying to get a balanced sadhana within our life, and we're so busy, we have so many material responsibilities. So how do we fit our spiritual responsibilities inside our material responsibilities? Like that? Okay. So the answer is you take sannyas. Okay. No, not possible. Okay. So how do we practically do that? It means regulation. You have to be regulated. Right? And this is very difficult for modern people to be regulated. But if you look at Prabhupada, right? Prabhupada was extremely regulated. Extremely. Right? Everything Prabhupada did was, he ate at the same time. He took massage at the same time. He took rest at the same time. He did his translation at the same time. He chanted his japa at the same time. So you're saying about, should we read every day? Yes, we should read every day. Do we read every day? Maybe we do not read every day. I don't read every day, right? There's days where I do read because I know I have, that's part of my service. But there's other days where I get too busy and I can't read. Every day I do listen, right? There's not a day that goes by where I don't listen. I'm always listening to lectures and like that. So that I can fit in. But some days I can't sit down and physically read. But it shouldn't happen that should not go on for weeks or months. A few days you miss, that's okay. So basically you become regulated, right? So every Monday you know what your program is. Tuesday you know what your program is. Wednesday you know what your program is. Some devotees, they have service which may be, a little bit more spontaneous, things come up. But still you have to have a regulated program in general. So as much as you can, regulate yourself. That's what Prabhupada did. Prabhupada would just, every day, eat at this time. Even one day he was sitting there, because Prabhupada would eat at 12 o'clock or 12:30 or 1 o'clock, whatever the time was. But it meant, if Prabhupada said 12:30, it meant 12:30. And then one of his cooks, I'm just trying to think, can't remember what her name is, but she was one of Prabhupada's cooks. And then she walked in, and then she walked into the to bring Prabhupada's plate, and it was 12:33, 3 minutes late. And Prabhupada was looking at the door. Right? And she walked in, and he said, "I've been waiting 12 years." Right? And he was angry, he was upset. Right? So Prabhupada was regulated like that. So we should also be like that, regulated in devotional service. Is that okay? Any other question? Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki.